Welcome to Oculus of the wise. You did not lose, you graduated, and they are still sitting in the classroom wondering where you went. Let that land for a second before we go anywhere, because the moment you chose peace over proving yourself, the moment you stopped explaining, stopped chasing, stopped shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never built for someone like you, something shifted in the atmosphere around you, something irreversible, something they felt before they even had a word for it. And that feeling, that invisible crack that opened the moment you stepped back into yourself, that is what brought you here today. Not curiosity, recognition, my dear chosen ones. Welcome, not to a channel, to a mirror, one that is going to show you exactly who you have always been and exactly why the people who tried to dim that cannot sleep the way they used to. And if this truth is already moving something inside you right now, before we go any further, hit that like button and subscribe to Oculus of the Wise. Because what gets built in this space only grows when the right people show up and refuse to scroll past what was made for them. You being here is already an act of alignment. Honor it. Now, let us go to the place most people are too afraid to speak out loud. There is a specific kind of haunting that only happens to people who try to underestimate you. It is not guilt exactly. It is not regret exactly. It is the feeling of standing in a room where something extraordinary used to be and realizing slowly and painfully that no amount of searching will ever put it back. That is what lives inside everyone who let you go. And it did not start the moment you left. It started the moment they realized you were already gone, long before you walked out the door. You were never what they decided you were. You were never the predictable one, the controllable one, the one who would always stay accessible, no matter how they treated you. That was the fantasy they fed themselves, because people who need power over others cannot function without the belief that someone beneath them is staying put. They looked at your patience and called it weakness. They looked at your silence and called it submission. They looked at your empathy and thought they found a door they could walk through whenever they pleased. What they did not see, what they were never equipped to see, was that you were studying every single move they made, quietly, completely, without one single word of warning. Number one, the moment your silence became the most terrifying sound they had ever heard. Some people do not fall apart because you hurt them. They fall apart because you understood them completely and still chose to leave. There is a psychological reality that never gets talked about in the way it deserves. People can survive being fought. They can rationalize an argument. They can rewrite the story of a confrontation and come out feeling like they held their ground. But they cannot survive being seen all the way through. Every manipulation, every performance, every carefully constructed mask, and then being met not with anger, not with tears, not with the explosion they braced for, but with a calm, quiet, unhurried exit. That is the thing that does not let them sleep. You did not blow up. You did not raise your voice. You did not start a war they could win by making you look emotional. You did something far more devastating. You simply stopped performing for them. You went still, and in that stillness, every illusion they had built around you cracked at the foundation. Nothing scares a person who feeds on control more than the moment they realize the one they were manipulating had been watching them the entire time. Not reacting, watching, cataloging, understanding, building a picture so complete they could have described it in detail to a stranger and left nothing out. That is exactly what you did. Chosen one, you watched their patterns without naming them. You felt their inconsistencies without confronting them. You saw the gap between who they performed as and who they actually were, and you said nothing. You let them believe the game was still running. And then, one quiet morning, you made your move. Not with noise, not with a scene they could point to and call dramatic, with the most permanent kind of goodbye, the kind that does not ask for a response. Your calm was their collapse. Your clarity was their checkmate. Your silence became the loudest thing that has ever happened to them. They keep replaying it. They keep rewinding to the exact moment they felt the shift and asking themselves what they missed. How did you see through them? When did you start watching? How did you stay so composed when they were certain they had you figured out? Their ego circles those questions like a plane that cannot land, because the honest answer is the one thing their pride will not let them say out loud. You were always ahead. They were never the smartest person in the room. They were just the loudest. And nothing bruises a person who has built their entire identity on being in control like discovering, too late, that the one they underestimated had already solved them completely. Number 2, when you evolved and they were still waiting for the old version to come back, people do not miss who you were. They miss the version of you they could still reach. This is a truth that hits differently the longer you sit with it. Because the people who struggle to let go of you are not mourning a relationship. They are mourning their access. The access to a version of you that doubted itself just enough to tolerate their behavior, that cared just enough to explain when they went silent, that stayed just accessible enough to be leaned on when it was convenient and dismissed when it was not. That version is gone, and it is not coming back. Not because you became cold, because you became clear. They did not see the shift happening in real time, because chosen ones evolve quietly. There is no announcement, no dramatic declaration, no warning moment they could point to and say, that is when they changed. One day you simply stopped needing their approval to feel steady. One day their opinion of you stopped carrying the weight it once did. One day you looked at the dynamic you had been tolerating and felt something new. Not anger, not sadness, clarity, the kind that is so complete it is almost peaceful. And that peace, chosen one, is the most threatening thing you could have ever shown them. They keep reaching for the old number, not realizing you no longer exist at that frequency. They send the messages that used to work. They use the tone that used to soften you. They try to re-enter through doors that no longer exist, because the you who lived behind those doors outgrew them while they were still standing outside deciding whether to knock. They scroll through memories like files on an outdated hard drive, searching for the version of you they could load and operate. But that version is gone. It did not leave angry. It did not leave defeated. It simply finished what it needed to learn from that chapter and moved on. And the terrifying part, the part they will carry longest, is that your next chapter is already being written and they are not in it. If you have ever felt guilty for outgrowing someone, for rising above a dynamic that was slowly making you smaller, I need you to hear this right now. Subscribe to this channel and drop a 77 in the comments below, because what you are about to hear is the exact permission you have been waiting for someone to give you out loud. Your growth was not a betrayal. It was the most honest thing you ever did. Number 3, you were the one person they could not read, predict, or prepare for. Here is something that gets overlooked in every conversation about power. True power does not announce itself. It does not need an audience. It does not need to intimidate a room to be felt in it. True power is the thing that makes the most calculated person in the building suddenly forget how to be calculated. And that is you, chosen one. Walking in and watching someone who controls entire rooms, entire organizations, entire relationships with military precision suddenly run out of his instruction manual. Not because you challenged him, not because you competed with him, because you were simply and completely yourself. And that is the one thing no amount of strategy can prepare for. Psychologists call it an identity short circuit. The moment the brain stops being able to lean on its dominant cues because it has encountered something it cannot categorize, something it cannot anticipate, manipulate, or map, You were that something, not because you were trying to be, because you were not trying to be anything other than exactly who you are. And authenticity in its truest form is the most disorienting force on earth to someone whose entire identity is built on performance. He can read the room. He can read the ambition in the person across the table, the fear in the one who holds his gaze a second too long, the admiration disguised as casualness in the one who pretends not to notice him walk in. He has spent years learning to decode every signal people send, so he can stay 5 steps ahead. And then you walked in, sending no signals he recognized, responding to none of his usual frequencies, looking straight past the armor everyone else interacts with, and landing directly on the part he has spent years making sure nobody reaches. And that chosen one is the one thing he did not have a strategy for. Around everyone else, he is untouchable. Around you, he becomes real. His mask, the one he has perfected over decades, the one that has never slipped in a boardroom or a negotiation or a room full of people trying to earn his approval, starts to show its edges. Not because you attacked it, because you simply did not respond to it. You were not impressed by the performance. You were not afraid of the shadow. You walked straight past both and arrived at the human underneath. And that was the thing no one had ever done before. Everyone around him notices it, the slight recalibration in his posture when you enter, the way his words choose themselves more carefully. The pause that was never there before. He runs everything, except his reactions around you. He does not become weaker in those moments. He becomes realer, more human, more alive, and that is the terrifying part, because he has spent his entire life in control of the version of himself the world sees, and around you for the first time he is not sure which version is showing. What terrifies him most is not losing power, it is losing it to someone who is not even reaching for it. You simply exist. And in your existence, the person who has built an empire on being untouchable realizes he has never actually been touched the way you touch him, with honesty, with presence, with the quiet refusal to pretend you are anything other than exactly who you are. That is not something influence can buy. That is not something strategy can manufacture. That is you, and he knows it, and he cannot forget it. Number 4, your kindness became the standard. No one who comes after you will ever reach. Nothing humbles a person faster than realizing the one they mistreated handled them with more grace than they ever deserved, and nothing haunts them longer. The reason they cannot move on from you is not the moment you left. It is every moment before that you chose to stay and still treat them with a level of care that had nothing to do with whether they had earned it. Because you did not give it because they deserved it. You gave it because that is who you are, because your standards for how you treat people exist independent of how those people treat you. And that is the rarest thing most of them have ever been in the presence of. They expected retaliation. They were prepared for an explosion, a scene, a list of grievances delivered with the fire they had been quietly building in you that they could have handled. They had responses ready for that version of the ending. What they were not prepared for was the version where you simply held your ground, offered your grace, and then calmly, without ceremony, walked away. Your calm was not submission. It was the highest form of control. Your patience was not weakness. It was strategy so clean they did not recognize it until after you were gone. Your kindness was not an opening. It was a mirror. And every time they look into it now, what they see looking back is the truth about themselves they have been running from. Every new person they try to replace you with reveals the gap further, because not everyone is built the way you are built. Not everyone responds with awareness. Not everyone has that level of inner stability, that ability to hold space for someone else while still being completely rooted in themselves. And the more they move through the world after you, the more that gap becomes impossible to ignore. You became the benchmark, the comparison, the standard against which every interaction that comes after you will be measured and found lacking, not because you were perfect, because you were real. And real is the rarest thing of all in a world full of performance. Number 5. The part that haunts them deepest is the version of themselves they could only access around you. This is the truth most people are not ready to hear. The greatest loss they felt when they lost you was not you. It was who they became in your presence. The version of themselves that was a little more honest, a little more open, a little more alive. The version that did not have to perform as hard or pretend as much. The version that was allowed to be human around you. The masks felt too heavy to maintain. Not because you demanded they remove them, because you genuinely did not respond to them. You were not there for the performance. You were there for the person. And most people have been wearing their performance for so long they have almost forgotten there is a person underneath it. They felt that person in your presence. They did not know what to do with it. It made them uncomfortable in the way that only something true can make a person uncomfortable. And so instead of leaning into it, they leaned into their patterns, their control, their familiar ways of protecting themselves. And you, seeing all of it clearly, made the choice they did not expect. You left without anger, without drama, without giving them anything to point to as the reason things fell apart. And that is the version of themselves they will spend years looking for in other people. That quiet, unguarded, almost honest version that only existed in your presence. They will not find it because it was never about them finding the right person. It was about them being in the presence of someone who created the right conditions, someone like you. Number 6. Your evolution is the final checkmate they never saw coming. And this is where we close the loop, chosen one, because here is the truth they are living with right now, whether you can see it from where you are standing or not. They feel your evolution even without witnessing it. They sense it. It is in the way others talk about you, the opportunities that seem to find you, the steadiness in you that was always there, but has now stopped apologizing for itself. Your elevation is not invisible, it radiates. And they are receiving it from wherever they are standing, like a frequency they used to be able to reach and can no longer access. They were removed from your story not as punishment, as precision. Life does not remove people carelessly. It removes them when they can no longer match the level you are rising to, when continuing to carry them would cost you more than you are willing to give. And the most profound thing about that removal is that it was not done in anger. It was done in growth, which means it is permanent. There is no argument to reverse it. There is no plea they can make. The door does not open back to a level you have already surpassed. That permanence is what leaves its mark. That is what they carry. The knowledge that you will never again exist at the version of yourself they knew, that every day that passes puts more distance between who they remember and who you are becoming. That the window to have known you the way you deserve to be known has already closed. Your absence was not an exit, it was an elevation, and they were never built for the level you now stand on. Chosen one, let this be the thing that follows you out of this room and into the rest of your day. The impact you left was not accidental. It was inevitable. Your energy, your clarity, your standards, the specific and irreplaceable way you move through the world, all of it carved a mark on the people who tried to underestimate you that no amount of time or distraction will fully erase. That is why they remember you. That is why they replay you. That is why your silence continues to speak long after you have stopped speaking. And if you have made it to this moment, still here, still breathing this in, then you already know this was not just a video. This was a conversation you were always meant to have with yourself through someone else's voice. That is what this space is. That is what Oculus of the Wise exists for. So do not leave here without making one final move. The move that says you are not going to let this truth live only in this moment and then subscribe to this channel. Hit that like button. Share this with one person who has been carrying something heavy and needs to hear that their silence has always been their power. And drop a 77 in the comments. Not for me, for the version of yourself that just recognized something it has always known but was waiting for someone to say out loud, you did not lose, you graduated. And the world they thought they controlled without you is never going to look the same. Stay grounded, stay unmovable, stay chosen. God bless you, and welcome home.